Hi, I'm Mark Magnacca. On behalf of the Adapters Advantage podcast, I want to welcome my next guest. It's Mark Lonzo, the Director of Sales Development from the Hillman Group. Hello, Mark.
Hey, Mark, how are you doing today?
Good. Welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. I was really looking forward to sharing our Lego journey with everyone.
Well, let's jump right in, Mark. When people meet you and they see your shirt that says the Hillman Group on it, and they say, well, what's the Hillman Group? And then what do you do? How do you answer that question?
Well, I'm the Director of Sales Development for the Hillman Group. And if you're not familiar with Hillman, Hillman is the leading distributor of hardware home solutions, personal protective gear, and robotic kiosk technology. And we have strategic partnerships with companies like Lowe's, Home Depot, Walmart, Ace Hardware, Tractor Supply, and other leading companies throughout the U.S. And in my role, I'm responsible for training our sales team, working on sales initiatives with our leadership team, and working on continuous improvement projects to make our team's life a little better. Really, we're a very heavily service-oriented. We call our sales team and our service team the secret sauce that makes Hillman successful.
And I know in one of our previous conversations, you mentioned something about how important having a vision is. Can you talk about what does it mean to you to have an enablement vision when you're deciding to pursue a new course of action? And how do you come up with and in effect promote that vision to the leadership team?
I think a vision starts with a need. There's a Thomas Edison quote, that says genius is 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration. So I kind of flip that. I say that excessive perspiration leads to inspiration and innovation.
That's good.
And what I mean by that, is if you look at all the greatest inventions throughout history, someone looked at something and went, there's got to be a better way.
Exactly.
And with sales enablement leaders, it's the same thing. I mean, we look at something that's inhibiting our people from doing their job efficiently, and we got to say, there's got to be something better than this. We got to figure out a better way. And so that starts the vision, because now once you see there's something that needs fixed and the need, then you start working towards that vision. And really it's bringing people in to buy into that vision. And so once you have the need, then you can create the vision, and then you can pull people into that vision.
Even with that, how did you engage sales leadership to help support making this change?
Well, yeah, that's a great question, Mark. And really what really started is in like late 2020, we did a employee pulse survey. When we got our survey back, I mean, we usually get really pretty good marks, but there were some app pain points. I mean, there was things like, finding information. That was like a big thing. Like, I can't find anything, those type of comments. And so Brett and I took that really kind of to heart. And we said, look, we need to start fixing these issues for our team. So that really started getting the attention of our leadership team to know that, hey, look, we got a problem here, and it's now up to us to find a solution for that. And so I think that was probably one of the big things as far as getting their attention that something had to be done differently. And it's like, this is not sustainable. And so I said, okay, I need to start looking for solutions. And that kind of brought me into the world of sales enablement and solutions like a Lego that can, help us with that challenge of training. And so that was really kind of the turning point where we knew we had to make a change. So one of the things I did is to that point what you just made. So what we did is I kind of looked at like a current state, future state, took a spreadsheet and said, okay, each column represented like a place where our people had to enter to do business. So we had one for, this is where they go into our sales portal to get their reporting and this type of information. This is the one for learning and training. This is the one to go into the corporate world and HR and all that type of stuff. And, so we went through and I made these lists. There was about 5 columns. And so what I did is I said, okay, now what's the future state with sales enablement, with a Lego? What's that look like? And so what I did is I said, okay, I can take the training and I can take the content management. I can even take collaboration and put it all under the a Lego bucket. But then I can take the other buckets and put them into a Lego through URLs to get to the other world. So what we essentially would do, and what we've done, is we've created a Lego as our single point of truth. It's the gateway to everything else. The only thing that sits apart from a Lego is our order entry system.
From the point at which you said, okay, we've got to make a change. SharePoint isn't cutting it with respect to this issue of people finding what they need when they need it. How did you start researching on your own to figure out what are the options in sales enablement? And then what led you to decide to invite a Lego to be part of it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, it all started with Google search, sales enablement. And so, of course, you see the different various companies. So I selected 4 companies. Of course, a Lego was one of those. And then I started the process of reaching out. They, each of them gave me their demo, and I looked at their demo. And then I had a spreadsheet, and it had columns at the top with a capability at each one that we were looking for. But then I went across a Lego, and Lego either met or exceeded those capabilities. And then, you add to that, the look and feel of the application and the ease of use. One of the things that I stole this actually from Brendan Sweeney, your vice president of sales, when he talked to us originally, it's the Netflix-like interface. The same thing that they use on the weekend to watch movies with their family is the same look and feel they use during the week, but it's that ease of finding that information. And, I'll give you an example. So recently, probably within the past 3 or 4 weeks, our vice president of sales, Eric England, was at a trade show. And he said, typically he goes, and so anyways, it was a manager meeting. He goes, Mark, I want to give you some kudos. I'm like, oh, okay, great. He goes, I was at this trade show, and as always, we don't have the information we need. So I pull up a Lego on my phone, boom, it's right there. And so he said, so man, just love it. It was great.
What was the biggest concern? So you put this present state and your future state up. Like, what did Brett or other leaders have as a concern when it was you making a case to make a switch?
Yeah, actually, I can say from their standpoint, I don't think there was really a concern. I think any concern that I had was we had all of this legacy information in SharePoint, and it was like, okay, how do we get all this and get this into a Lego? And it's like, that if anything kept me up at night. But I will tell you that, one of the first steps I did was I went through our SharePoint, and by category, I said, okay, here's all the pieces of content that we have. And I basically said, okay, is it up to date? Yes or no? Is it need updated? Yes or no? And does it need deleted? And so I went through and I started the process of evaluating myself. Then I sent that out to all the segment leaders, and I said, okay, tell me, if it's going to get updated, then just tell me when it'll be updated. If it needs deleted, just tell me we'll delete it. And so after I did that, that exercise, I knew that I had clean data to put into a Lego. But then the key, and this is really, I love a Lego, but I'll tell you what probably one of your biggest value adds is your customer success partners, because Carolyn walked us, she basically shepherded us through that process, and she managed that project. So weekly, it's like we started, she showed us what to do. She gave us the philosophy on using a sales enablement and making it look so it's user friendly. And then we just start building channels. And it was just that process of weekly, touch base and just weekly, just working at it and it was really a very smooth process. I was really amazed by that. But so again, that was a concern at first, but man, that went away really quickly after we started into the project.
From your perspective, over this last year, how has the future state compared to what you had in effect promised and said, this is what it will be like? And how has that transformed that day to day beyond what you just told me about saving time from your perspective?
Well, yeah, I mean, to that point, Mark, I mean, right now, our the current state would be our people now, instead of like calling and saying, I can't find anything, have just in time access to information. If I'm looking for information, I can pull it up at any time. Or we have equipment out in the field. It might be a key machine, and I need to fix that key machine. And so I go to my phone, I watch the video as I'm fixing the key machine. So that's game changing type stuff that we didn't have before. And then add to that, like your digital sales rooms. That's a whole dynamic that's changed our business. We use digital sales rooms for a lot of different things. We have QR codes for customers to go deeper into the information they go into a digital sales room. It's kind of interesting, Mark. I think one of your roundtables I was a few weeks ago, we were talking about follow up and all these type of things. And in today's business, I mean, look, I coined a phrase where we live in the amortization of the buyer experience. So they're so used to placing an order today and getting it very quickly. I placed an order 2 weeks ago for Amazon, 7:00 in the evening. The next morning, it was sitting on my porch.
No,
These people work through the night. Are you crazy? But the thing about that is that your buyers have that expectation of having that information right now. So what is better than to say, look, I'm going to send you a link, an email. I'll send you a link. And by the end of that day, they go in and have all this access to all that information. And so that's very powerful. And really if you did a Google search right now on customer follow-up, it'll say, oh, send an email after this amount of time. Nothing says send a digital sales room with all this information. So that's game changing in the industry.
Mark, when you say that, it actually gives me goosebumps because I haven't had anybody, even people said, I don't think my industry's ready or I'm not quite there yet, but I haven't had anybody who's like, I don't get it. They understand what you just said, that at this point in time, the idea that I'm going to send you 10 emails with hyperlinks and PDFs and attachments and all that stuff versus sharing it with you in a website format, which is something you're already comfortable, just like we're comfortable buying on Amazon. It's just a better way. And so to me, like your job and most of the sales enablement professionals listening to this, their job is to find a better way. So there's no question that we've got the better way that you've just embodied with learning and content. And then DSR is just sort of the next piece that brings that to the customer. If you had one piece of advice for our listeners who are contemplating themselves making a switch, they might have a similar dynamic as you. They're using SharePoint or something like that. They're frustrated. They're kind of on the bubble, which is, I know we need to make a change, but man, it's time, energy, and effort to be able to do that. What advice would you give them?
Look for the need. Go out and look at what your people do every day. Look at the barriers that are causing them not to get, you said it earlier, Mark, the most precious thing people have is time. And once it's gone, you don't get it back. So the way you need to look at their time and see what the time killers are and find those things, the technologies like a Lego that can save them time and give them the access to information. So I think if any advice I have, listen to your people, talk to your people, and make sure that you're looking for ways to tear down the barriers to help them become successful. So,
Mark, this has been a fantastic conversation. Thanks so much for being part of the podcast. I'm excited to continue this conversation with you as your journey continues, and more to come.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.